composer Charles Gounod. He was a deeply religious man who was really fascinated by the struggle between good and evil that Goethe explored in Faust. So Gounod's Faust is actually based on a play called Faust at Marguerite by Michel Carré, who teamed up with Jules Barbier to write the libretto, or the script. And the plot in this is reduced to the more humanistic aspects of the legend in order to make the opera more marketable and appealing to the general public. I mean, if you come out to an opera, you're not exactly looking for this philosophical mind thing. You just kind of want to be entertained. So Gounod leaves out a lot of and his librettists leave out a lot of the lofty ideas that Goethe explored in his own Faust. And what's funny is that in Europe, it's often referred to simply as Margaret because it focuses so much on the Gretchen tragedy. And I think this is because she is a simple, static character who is easy to adapt for the stage, and she really is the catalyst of Faust's downfall. And if you think about some of your favorite stage characters, I'm sure a lot of them aren't super complex and have a lot of traits that are nuanced. You know, they're kind of static overall. So, Gounod's Faust premiered in 1859, and critics got at it for really simplifying the legend to just being the love story and valuing the love story over the moral elements. But it has become incredibly successful, and it is really often performed in opera houses today. In 1883, it was the debut opera performed at the Metropolitan Opera House. So there are some notable changes from the original legend, starting with Faust's wager with the devil. He asks only for youth, not for eternal knowledge and worldly things. He thinks that youth pretty much will solve all his problems. And also Marguerite first appears to Faust when he and the devil are out at the tavern, which is a scene that is in all three of the adaptations, but Marguerite only comes in Gounod's adaptation. And what I think is interesting is that Faust offers her his arm and she rejects him at first. She says, "No, sir, I am no demoiselle, neither am I fair, and I have no need to accept your offered arm." So you kind of have a little bit of a different personality change. Here we have a Gretchen who can say no to this and kind of doesn't want anything to do with Faust. Marguerite is convicted of infanticide, but she's not convicted of patricide this time because it's revealed that her mother has already died, and she also has a sister who's died as well, a younger sister. And this kind of gives a little more insight into her character as having to be kind of the woman of the house and having a little bit of a chip on her shoulder, having to deal with those deaths. And like Berlioz, Gounod damns Faust while Marguerite is raised to heaven. Another big change is that he really brings out the character of Siebel. In Goethe's play, Siebel is just one of Faust's students. But Gounod's Siebel is deeply in love with Marguerite and stands by her even when she becomes pregnant and ostracized by the community. So he is kind of like a competing love interest, but she wants nothing to do with him. And Siebel is played by a mezzo-soprano female in a breeches role. So one could argue that it's kind of emasculating, that he's kind of like this young boy, whereas Faust is this baritone kind of ideal man. So, Il ne revient pas, or He Isn't Coming Back, is an aria that Marguerite sings while she's at her spinning wheel. And in this opera, it's often cut, probably because it's eclipsed by the very vocally showy Jules song, which is crazy. There's a reason why I'm not singing that one today. But it happens in Act 4 after Marguerite has been made pregnant, she's given birth, and she's basically a social outcast. Only Siebel is really the only one who cares about her anymore. And she's been abandoned by Faust. She's coping with the fact that he's just not coming back. So like Gretchen am Spinnrad, the accompaniment in this song echoes the rhythm of the spinning wheel. This time we have staccato eighth notes in the bass and 30-second notes in the right hand, so they're very fast. Can I play that? So once again, we have that very steady feeling and the spinning wheel motif. And like Berlioz, Gounod uses the tritone a lot. You can hear that when Marguerite sings, "Alas, alas," she's lamenting. So as I perform this last adaptation of Marguerite, think about how she fits in with the other two characters. Which one is she most like? Is she not like any of them? Where she would be? What's going through her mind? played Marguerite starting at the Met in 1949. And she said that originally she didn't like the character. She thought she was weak and dull, and the only reason she really performed her was because of the music. And I kind of feel the same way in some ways. You know, we have this beautiful dialogue between the voice and the piano, and I think that speaks to me more than Marguerite as a character does. But overall, I think that there's just this sense of being resigned and feeling ashamed. In the recitative before this aria, she sings about how ashamed she is that Faust has left her pregnant, and the fact that she used to judge people who were in her position, and now she is one of those. So I think that this sense of shame is really present throughout the whole piece with the kind of overarching phrases, the tension and release, and all the accidentals. So I think that this is a beautiful aria, and I wish it wasn't cut so much, but that Jewel song, obviously, that one reigns. So overall, this is just a smattering of the music about Faust. The legend has been taken on by so many different composers, and the reason I picked these three is because they give the biggest voice to the Gretchen character. A lot of them I looked at didn't mention the Gretchen character at all. They kind of based their opera on an earlier version of the legend that might not have included her archetype, or they included part 2, which is all very fantastical. There's Helen of Troy, it's kind of crazy. So I thought that these three were composers who really gave a voice to the Gretchen character and really looked at this humanistic side of the story. Schubert's Gretchen, his piece is just really important because of how it places poetry and music on the same plane, and his Gretchen is very young and naive, and a ditz, as we described earlier. Meanwhile, Berlioz, with his dramatic cantata, he has this fantastical style, kind of crazy in the accompaniment, but you can tell that Gretchen is a little more mature and grounded, and that she knows what she wants. And finally, Gounod's opera, it is a little bit more simplistic. The characters might be a bit more one-sided, and in order to appeal to a broader audience. And his Gretchen is resigned, she's given up hope, and she is ashamed. And one thing I think that is really interesting about her character, especially, is that she calls him my master, and it's kind of like she's enslaved to him almost, now that she has had his child. So I think that's one last little tidbit that is really interesting. So, as I mentioned, there's so much scholarship about the Faust legend out there, and so many composers have taken on their own adaptations of the legend. Schumann has scenes from Faust, Busoni, and so many other composers. There's even been a lot of scholarship about Faust in rock opera, like Doubling Down to Georgia type stuff, you know, how this theme just keeps resurfacing. So this is a legend that is hundreds and thousands of years old, but it keeps resurfacing in pop culture today, and that's why I think it's an important one to look at, and pretty much a quintessential example of man's search for meaning in the world. So thank you so much for coming, and I will open up the floor now for any questions if you have any.
Do you know if Berlioz and Gounod were familiar with Schubert's setting of the questions?
I assume they must have been because
It
it was,
seems like they were.
Yeah.
In terms of how they modeled, form and other elements.
yeah, I'm not sure how much exactly they were inspired by Schubert, but I'm sure that they were probably familiar with it. It seems like they did kind of base a little bit on it. Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for coming out on this rainy night, and we have refreshments that we will have up in the student lounge if you'd like to get some chocolate covered strawberries and other goodies. So thank you again for coming, and